The movie begins with a shot of the ocean floor, the camera slowly rising to the surface where Jenn lies unconscious on the beach, half submerged in water. She wakes up, disoriented, and notices Brad, her companion, also unconscious nearby, rushing to him only to find a piece of coral embedded in his stomach, leaving him barely alive. Panicking, Jenn calls out for help but gets no response, so she removes her backpack and life jacket, drags Brad further onto the shore, and pulls the coral from his abdomen, using her scarf to apply pressure to the wound before running into the jungle to find a coconut, cracking it open with a stone and rushing back to pour the water into Brad's mouth. But it's too late. He's already dead, leaving Jenn devastated. The camera pans out to show the island, a small stretch of beach surrounded by dense forest. As Jenn walks around it, eventually returning to Brad's body and venturing into the jungle, where she finds a bag hanging from a tree and a red cooler on the ground, calling out again but receiving no answer. Inside the bag and cooler, she finds bottles of soda, a thermos flask, and a small tin case containing a deck of cards, matches, and other small items, as well as an abandoned tent and a backpack with an old handheld game console, a radio, a book, and a stuffed animal, which she takes back to the beach, where she hears a noise from a hollowed-out tree and discovers a tropical bird inside. Using fronds to cover Brad's body and looking around to see only sand and ocean. That night, a heavy rainstorm forces Jenn to take shelter under fronds, using her jacket as cover, and in the morning, she finds small fish washed up on the shore, noticing a mutilated shark corpse with deep gouge marks, wondering what could have caused such damage, and attempting to clean the fish with a flat stone before giving up and returning to the cooler, where she opens her diary to find the ink washed away but discovers a picture of herself and her boyfriend, a painful reminder of her past. Later, Jenn ventures into the jungle and stumbles upon a clearing with 3 makeshift graves, spooking her and sending her back to the beach, where Brad's body is starting to smell, so she drags him further inland, digs a shallow grave, and buries him, using a piece of wood with his name carved into it as a tombstone, roasting fish for dinner that evening. The next morning, Jenn notices Brad's grave has been desecrated, his body mutilated and dragged into the jungle, prompting her to sharpen a stick and investigate, finding nothing, and the following day, she spots something floating in the distance, swimming out to discover a bucket and a piece of luggage, diving deeper to see a black hole on the ocean floor, bringing the items to shore and finding a pair of sneakers and some clothes inside the luggage, changing into them that night and sitting by the fire, examining the tin case again and discovering a hidden compartment with pictures of a family. The last photo showing a woman holding the same bag Jenn found earlier, with 2 glowing dots in the background. As she studies the pictures, Jenn hears an airplane overhead, grabbing the flare gun from the cooler and firing it into the sky. The flare lighting up the horizon but fading to reveal a humanoid monster rising from the water, terrifying Jenn as she grabs her stick weapon and runs into the jungle, hiding until the monster leaves. The next day, Jenn examines the pictures again, noticing the glowing dots in the distance, and decides to use the life jackets and tin case to build a makeshift raft, attempting to float on it but failing, throwing the life jackets back to shore and using the hollow tree as her sleeping spot that night, clutching her weapon as the monster returns, rolling the log with Jenn inside but leaving when she stays quiet. In the morning, Jenn catches a small shark using fish as bait, using the shark as bait for the monster and watching from a hiding spot that night as the monster takes the shark and disappears into the ocean. And the following day, she spots a body floating in the water, swimming out to find a man cut in half with his face mutilated, hanging the body as bait and watching that night as the monster takes it, hearing another airplane overhead and firing the flare gun again, the monster appearing nearby but leaving when Jenn stays hidden. Jenn builds a hammock high in the trees to use as a watchtower, spotting the monster below during a thunderstorm, a flash of lightning revealing her location as the monster attacks, Jenn falling from the hammock but managing to escape, running to the beach and fighting back with her weapon as the monster chases her, the battle leaving her injured but alive. And the next morning, Jenn tends to her wounds, changes her clothes, and spots a raft on the horizon, swimming out to find her friend Mia and her boyfriend Lucas on board, hugging Lucas and crying as he comforts her while Mia examines the island. Jenn prepares a meal of roasted fish, coconuts, and soda for Lucas and Mia, who admire the island's beauty but are warned by Jenn that it's not safe. As she tries to explain the monster's presence, showing them the pictures and pointing out the glowing dots, the monster's eyes. But they don't believe her, with Lucas suggesting they wait and see if anyone else shows up while Mia hints that Brad might still be alive, prompting Jenn to reveal that Brad is dead, buried by her but dug up by the monster, leading Mia to walk away while Lucas asks for a description of the monster, which Jenn says is massive, with 2 eyes and a foul smell, as Mia tries to convince Jenn of the hopelessness of escaping on the raft. But Jenn insists she'd rather die on the raft than stay on the island, borrowing Lucas's Swiss Army knife to get more food and asking him to tell Mia to get ready, only to return and find Lucas and Mia refusing to leave, with Jenn eventually agreeing and going into the water to calm down. Looking back to see Lucas and Mia walking away together as Mia packs supplies into the cooler and the flare gun into her backpack, Jenn quietly pushing the raft towards the ocean as Mia and Lucas run to stop her, Jenn struggling and kicking Mia in the face before being hit with a paddle and passing out in the water, regaining consciousness later tied to a tree as Mia explains that Lucas has gone to look around the island, Jenn insisting she's not making things up, but Mia doubting her due to her history. And when Lucas returns, saying he saw nothing, Jenn asks to be untied, promising not to do anything rash as Lucas blames her for their situation, saying he was having a great week until she wanted to leave the boat, leading to their being trapped on the island, with Jenn arguing it's not the time to fight and Lucas saying even if she had escaped and found help, she wouldn't survive without him, accusing her of betrayal as they hear Mia scream. Lucas grabbing a torch and running to her, hitting the monster as it drops Mia and strikes Lucas instead, diving back into the water as Jenn cuts the rope, grabs her weapon, and goes after Lucas, who tries to reach Mia in the water but is pulled under by the monster, leaving Jenn to return to the beach the next morning, reigniting the fire and writing a memoir of her time on the island, sharpening sticks and exhuming the bodies of the family buried there to use their bones as weapons, preparing for a final standoff with the monster, baiting it with fish and surrounding it with fire that night, stabbing it with sticks and bones as it attacks her, the monster eventually catching her and lifting her by the leg, Jenn stabbing it repeatedly in the chest until it drops her and she escapes, turning to face the monster as it screams and finally dies, Jenn beheading it and looking out at the burning jungle as the camera pulls back to show the beach, the island now a place of both terror and survival.